Hello, Garland Nixon here. Critical race theory for foreign policy. I'm wondering if the Democrats would support that. Let's talk. Hello, Garland Nixon here. Ooh, my camera's a little crooked. Um, Garland Nixon here, and I'm just wondering. I thought about that critical race theory. Is there something on that just came from dinner? Anyway, critical race theory. Would the Democrats support critical race theory for foreign policy? Now, it's interesting because there's a big discussion of critical race theory and it's applied to the United States. And what is it about? It's about the history of the United States and the history when it comes to race and ethnicity and things of that nature. And so some people came up with this curriculum called critical race theory, in which they, examine the history of the United States when it comes to minorities and the issue of race and ethnicity, mostly race, things of that nature. Now, there are a couple of things about that. Number one, as a Black person, I can tell you beyond a reasonable doubt to a moral certainty that things ain't exactly been fair for Black folks in America. And that is a valid conversation, okay? But I think of this like the green agenda. I think of this like this business about climate change and all, right? I believe in climate change 100%. I believe it's an issue. I believe that we need to lower all of the poisons that we're throwing into the atmosphere and all that stuff, right? However, I don't trust that these crooked bastards that are telling us that they are in fact doing everything they can to address climate change. I don't trust that that's their real motive. If you look, right, I'll put it like this: if you really are an environmentalist, if you really do believe in it, whether it's climate change or environmentalists or whatever, right, the issue is what is being done to address it, right? So if somebody says, I really believe in X, and you look at their priorities and their priorities aren't X, they're bullshitting you, right? So if somebody says, this is what we've heard all along, and I'm getting to critical race theory, but this is all the same, down the same path. Someone says to you, I'm really concerned about climate change. Human beings are all going to be dead if we don't do something. That's my top priority. That is my number one priority. If you truly believe that, right, that is an extinction level threat, it should be your priority. If you truly believe that, then it's an extinction level threat in your mind and you should address it, right? But they tell us they truly believe this, but in reality, in a cynical manner, they use that just like they use everything else. So if you believe, let me give you an example. If you believe in the issue of human rights around the world, right? Great. I believe in human rights. Everybody should be treated fairly, blah, 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 right? But look at the neoliberals, the neoconservatives, look at the globalists. Human rights is just another tool they can use to smite their enemies. Human rights is always a valid issue worldwide. Groups of people are mistreated. There's genocide, there's violence, there's all this kind of stuff, right? But when you look at the globalists, the neoliberals, whatever term you want to call these bastards, right? The reality is they claim, this is their claim for a moral foundation for their immoral goals, right? Their immoral, unethical goals, their greed to remain the elite ruling class, to control everything in the world, to be able to do whatever they want to do, no matter how, unseemly we may find it. They're flying around on Jeffrey Epstein's plane, doing God only knows what. They'll claim they're against human trafficking, but they're flying around on Jeffrey Epstein's plane, smooching on 16-year-olds, and God only knows what else we wouldn't even want to know, right? So the reality is, human rights is what? It's just another tool they use to smite their enemies. Wokeness, right? Wokeness is just another tool. The argument, the lie, and this is all where I'm going, so stay with me. The woke thing is we're looking out for the LGBT community, people of color, BIPOC. You come up with stuff like BIPOCs, Black or Indigenous people of color. You come up with stuff we don't even know what it means. And you use that to say, I'm doing the right thing and I'm standing up for good It's a moral crusade. I'm standing up for righteousness against wrongness. My priority is righteousness. But then you look at these claims against you notice something. And that is, you notice that the claims of human rights violations are only lobbed against their adversaries, that the globalists, that they overlook them for allies, and they make false claims about adversaries. If they don't like you, you're doing a bunch of human rights violations. If they do, if you go along with what they want, they don't care how many you do. So they use these things cynically as tools to smite their enemies, right? So the issue of critical race theory, does Garland Nixon think it would be valid and productive to have a discussion about the history of race in the United States? Absolutely, I think it would be. In fact, any issue of sociology in a country where there's people that are unhappy or groups that have been marginalized, anything, it is productive to have a conversation about that, as long as that conversation is driven by an honest a need to make things better. Yes, I want to talk about the history of race in the United States. Why? Because we want a better place to live. Not, yes, I want to talk about it. Why? So I can posture about how good I am and continue to do terrible things. See, that's what we get with the globalists and neoliberalists. They ain't looking out for black people in the United States. They ain't looking out for black people worldwide. They ain't looking out for nothing. They've got a game. They've got an agenda. And if human rights serves and human rights accusation serves to address their agenda, they'll use that. If the claim that they're saving the planet serves to further their agenda, then they're going to claim that they're serving the planet, whichever one it is, right? And sometimes there's ways it can be tested, right? Here's an example. You're concerned right now. They're so concerned about the greening of all this crap, right? They're so concerned that, and I'm an environmentalist person who does believe in climate change, but I understand these cynical lying bastards are not my allies anyway, right? That's where people get confused. If you do believe in furthering the betterment of the environment, if you do believe in, going to renewable energies at some point, you want to make an honest attempt to do it. And you want to think it out and draw out a map and put it at the top of your priority list. No, you don't just say we're going to do it and you use it to do like carbon taxes where you can, pretend like you're doing something and not be doing it. And you can further an economic agenda that you want to further in the name of environmentalism, in the name of human rights, in the name of whatever the good so-called good things that you're doing. So that's the problem. Look right now. Right now, what we're hearing is what we've been heard for years. Hey, climate change is what it's all about. Climate change, we got to stop. We're all going to die. Get on board. You're evil. You're not down with climate change. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. So what happens? Okay, the war starts in Ukraine. Climate change. What are you going to do? And no new. Oh, we can't use nuclear power because this. But I got issues with nuclear power. Legitimate issues, and I think deserve a legitimate discussion, not just throw something out there. A legitimate, honest discussion about the safety of it and what can we do to ensure that it's safer if we're going to use it or not use it, whatever. These are honest and valid discussions about the issues. They're not games. They're not tools to be used to smite your enemies, right? So when we look at what's going on here, the war starts. And we've been told that if this is extinction level, we must do everything we can to guard ourselves while all humans could die. And now the same people who told us the last couple of years during COVID that we're doing everything, we got to save every life, we got to do everything we can because one person could die from COVID. That's too many. We got to save their lives and do all of these things that don't really save anybody's lives. So that's what we're told. They're looking out for our life. They're looking out to save us. And they want to stop these extinction level crises, whatever you want to call them, such as climate change, pollution, whatever the case may be. All right, the war starts, and their real agenda comes out. Now it's like, what are you going to do? We'll start the coal-fired power plants up. What? Wait, what? How'd that happen? Well, Putin's got to be stopped. Well, wait a minute. Putin last March had a deal to stop the war. With Ukraine, they sat down and they ironed out a deal. Yep, can we stop it? Yeah, you give us this, yeah, that, yeah, do this, yeah, you won't do that, yeah, okay, we'll stop it. The war was over. And you could get right back to your climate change deal if that's what you really believed in, which of course they didn't. And so the time was there to tell. Anybody who said that Joe Biden, if you believe this, but I'm doing all of this to make a point. If you believed that Joe Biden really in his heart believed that climate change was an existential crisis and that it was his job to address it, at that point, he would say, look, whatever's going on with Putin, we got to resolve this so we can get back to climate change. And we got to resolve this so we can use as clean energy as possible. And we can move on towards renewables and, blah, blah, blah. This is an extinction level event. That ain't what Joe Biden did. The Biden administration nixed the deal so the war could keep going. Which even during a war, think of all at that point during a wartime, people aren't even dealing with climate change and things like that. In fact, if you look at what the Biden administration is doing, what they're doing is all to make it worse. It's all to make environmentalism worse. It's all to make everything worse. It exposes that while there are serious crises in the world, whether it's food or energy or whatever, or the treatment of people or human rights, there are crises all over the world. The reality is these rotten bastards have no intention of addressing them. And so as we argue over critical race theory, over climate change, over this and that, they're happy. Because we're arguing over there is climate change. No, there isn't. Critical race theory. Oh, what are you trying to hate America? Oh, I love America, but we've got to talk to them about what's happened in the blah, 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 right? We're having those discussions. They don't give a shit about any of that stuff. Cynically, they use those things as tools. And that keeps us distracted in arguing about them. Because if we really wanted to know, as I always go back to Bill Parcells, you are what your record says you are. How do you spell commitment? I had a professor that said that, M-O-N-E-Y. Where's you want to know how committed a person is to something? See where they spend their money, see where they spend their time, see where they invest their resources. The U.S. empire invests its resources, its money, and its time in its war machine. That's where our money goes in. That's what our time, that's what our resources goes in. All our policies is about our war machine. Now, any questions about where our priorities are? M-O-N-E-Y. That's how you spell commitment. Whereas the U.S., the military will say we want 800 million, and Congress will say that ain't enough. You're taking 850. Meanwhile, hey, kids need school lunches. Hey, who's going to pay for the school lunches for the little greedy little bastards? Let them starve. Something's wrong there, isn't it? Okay, what's wrong is if you're arguing about these issues, right? You're arguing about the wrong thing. You're not looking at the people who are using these issues. You need to go after them. So, and one of the ways you can do that, I'm getting ready to do it right now. If in fact you believe, okay, critical race theory is important to teach because people in America need to know the history. They need to know that America as a country, that America as a culture has been not so nice to Black folks. We were an apartheid country. They won't use they won't use that word, but we were an apartheid country. We were a fascist country. How can you have slavery and not be fascist? You know what I mean? America was a fascist country. We were a democracy with slavery. That's the kind of definition of fascism, isn't it? An ethno-fascism, right? And apartheid, well, clearly, you can't do things because of the color of your skin, because your race. Well, that is the very definition of apartheid, right? Okay, so those things deserve to be talked about, but it's certainly, sure. So you're doing that. Why? Because you want us to face the reality of our history of race and come to some kind of whatever. I don't know what the hell, right? That's what you want, right? And it's not unreasonable in the right context. It's reasonable in the right context. But when I look at who's doing it, I'm immediately suspicious. And here's the test. If you truly believe that that America needs to look at its history, its culture, its politics when it comes to the issue of race, I'll add this. Here's something I always say. The difference between foreign policy and domestic policy is only grammatical. We only do that with words. This is America, and America does what America does. In America, and you can call it foreign policy, you can call it domestic policy, you can call it a walk in the park on a Saturday afternoon. It don't matter what you call it. The United States empire does what the U.S. empire does. And if you want to know how I put it like this. Let me put it like this. Let me give you a little, I love to give my little stories. Might have heard this one before. I've used it before. It's appropriate here. This guy goes to a bar. He gets in an argument with the bartender. He gets in an argument with another guy there, gets in a fight with him. He talks to a girl and she throws a drink in his face because he says bad things to her, right? Then he leaves. He's walking down the street. He bumps into some guy. He gets in an argument with him. He's driving home. He gets in a road rage incident, gets out, gets in a fight at the on the street, right? What the hell you think he's going to do when he gets home? He's going to beat the hell out of his wife and kids. This is a person who has a pattern of violence. Right or wrong, this person have you ever heard of a person who goes out in the street and they're violent and angry and attitude, but when they come home, they're a dear sweet butter would melt in their mouth? No, they're coming home, they're cursing their wives and kids, they're beating the living bloody crap out of them, they're abusive, what they do in the streets, they do at home. Why? Because we don't compartmentalize like that. That is that person's nature. That is their character. They've got issues with anger management. They've got issues with how they treat each other. They've got narcissistic issues, all kinds of issues like that. It causes them to be abusive to people. But if they're abusive to people in the street, you can damn sure be that they'll be abusive to people at home. And if they got a job, they're arguing, they're not getting along with people at work. We all know people like that. They don't get along with anybody, no matter where they are. And they always blame the other person. Oh, yeah, that guy, he's such an asshole. Well, why don't you? But you worked with a guy before and you didn't get along with him either. Well, he was an even worse asshole. What about the guy before? Oh, now we're talking blithering asshole, right? There's a person that no matter who's around them, they don't get along with them, but it's always the other person's fault. But you'll never find a person like that comes home and they're nice, or they act like hell at home and they go out and they're nice. No, it's a pattern of being. It's who this person is. It is their nature. And to arbitrarily divide their home life with their work life, with their bar life, with their road rage life is grammatical. But in reality, this is one person doing all that. They are, in fact, acting out the same pattern no matter what social setting you put them in. They're going to act out the same pattern because that's who this person is, right? There's no difference with the United States. So if you want to know how the United States treats Black people at home, look at how they treat them abroad. If you want to know how they treat Black people abroad, look at how they treat them at home. Not as a person, not as every white person in America. I'm saying as the history of the U.S. empire as an empire. Let's not judge it as individuals, as persons, as groups. Let's judge this as an empire, right? So right now, the U.S. empire is trying to be slick. What it's trying to do is it's trying to pretend as though it's reformed. You see, the critical race theory, I don't have a problem with it whatsoever. But I think it's a cynical game right now. And it is, let's pretend as though we have reformed. Because if we can say, man, in the past, it's like a person that says, yeah, back when I used to drink, man, I used to treat people bad. I used to fight. I used to get in all kind of trouble. I used to steal. I was abusive. I was terrible when I used to drink, man. But now I'm a new person. Oh, really? You don't drink anymore? Well, yeah, of course. Yeah, somebody hand me a beer. When you used to drink, you were bad, but you're still drinking. So the bottom line is the U.S. empire as an empire. I mean, how did Black folks get here? The empires go around the world and they steal resources. Black people were what? They were a resource. It was labor. They went and they stole labor. It was a capitalist move. We're going to grab some labor. We're going to bring it here. Boom, we got free labor. That's what it was. Let me say this, since I like to talk, I got a little time. One thing that's never discussed when it comes to the history of it is the history of the issue of race in America is this. Why is it, might have heard me talk about this before, that the southern states, if you look at it, the southern states are still poor in comparison to the northern states. The northern states and a lot of the coastal states are wealthier than the southern states. I believe this, don't have any evidence for it, but I'm going to throw this out there. One of the things that happened during slavery was we had hundreds of years of free labor, right? Well, who did that hurt? I mean, outside of the slaves, slavery was a human rights violation of the highest order. But outside of that, let's talk about this economically. You had free labor. That meant what? That meant that white people that live, if you're a white person and you're not rich, you're not a slave owner, you're just an average schlub, and you live in a state that has free labor, how does that affect you? Not so good, huh? And after that, what they do, particularly in the South, they continued apartheid, which meant you had damn near free labor. The Black people could work for next to nothing. It was so all of the basic jobs, they didn't have to pay people next to nothing. Sharecropping next to nothing. So they could take advantage of this disadvantaged group And the white people in that same area didn't stop to think. Economically, these bastards, the oligarchs had free labor. You, as the working class person, was the one who suffered the most from free labor. Sorry about that. I think I just bopped my camera, right? The working class white person, outside of the slave, who it's a given, but the working class white person suffered. The economy suffered because there was free labor, and then during the apartheid days, there was really, really cheap labor. So what happened? So the southern states never had a need to industrialize. They never had a need to develop industry, to develop well-paying jobs, to develop a middle class. They didn't have a need to do that because they had free labor. And then after the free labor, they had apartheid, dirt cheap, nothing labor from poor black folks that they could pay whatever they wanted because they had no other alternative, right? So if you talk about that, to this day, the echoes of slavery still affect the people in the South, both black and white, economically. A lot of people don't want to talk about that. That's something to be talked about in critical race theory. To me, you have to talk about economic and the word and in the spirit of that discussion, in the context of that discussion, what do you get back to? Who was making the money? The oligarchs in the South were some of the richest people that ever lived on this planet. In fact, you had plantations where the slaves, a lot of people don't even know this history, were trained as bookkeepers, were trained as lawyers, were trained in everything, right? So you had Philadelphia is where a lot of these northern planters lived. You had a plantation in the South where there was a few white overseers and the slaves ran everything. They did the shipping, they did everything. They read, they write, they were educated, they did everything to make that thing work. And the slave owner lived in, a so-called liberal city of Philadelphia. But if you were a white bookkeeper, if you were a white lawyer, if you were a white shipper, if you were a white whatever, a blacksmith, if you were a white whatever, you could have, there was no work for you because they trained the slaves to be blacksmiths and they had free blacksmiths. That is an economic. See, if I were teaching critical race theory, I would teach it from the issue of race and from the issue of economics. And you could show how it hurt this particular group of black people, yes, but you could also demonstrate how it hurt white, black, everybody else, and how it affected the economy as a whole. That's a broader discussion, and that gets into the empire, because now it gets into the oligarchs were the ones making out from free labor. The black people were slaves, they were beaten, abused, and raped, and the white people were dirt poor, living on a farm somewhere, a subsistence farm, and because there was hardly much work for them, because the slaves did it all for free. Free labor, they were screwed, and the oligarchs walked away with everything. What's so very different today? It was an oligarchy. That's a discussion that should be had within the context of critical race theory, but the economic discussion won't be had. They will simplify it. They will distill it down to something much simpler. Now, let's continue with this. I think there's a test to see, if I say I'm doing something for the good of the order, right, as they say with Robert's Rules of Order, for the good of the order, I'm doing this, right? Then what I'm doing should be open to question. My motivations should be falsifiable, right? They should always be falsifiable. It should be open. It should be transparent. We should be able to talk about anything. So what about this? What about this? You Democrats, you're down with critical race theory. Yes. Okay. And you're doing it because you want a better world. You want to deal with the wrongs of the past and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Oh, by all means. Sure. Yeah. Okay. That sounds fair enough. Let's do one for foreign policy. See, right now, the Republicans push back against critical race theory, and I understand there's the issue of nationalism, and there's just like, oh, if you say the country did something wrong in the past, then, for some reason that hurts us now. I don't understand it, but whatever. But my point is, the conservatives, the nationalist type people, more nationalist person is going to push back on critical race theory, right? But if someone was to say, look, here's what we want to do. We got a new kind of critical race theory. What is that? Foreign policy. I'm sure the Republicans would push back on it. The Democrats would too. All the smoke and mirrors about we are here to do this, to make it better for black people, to help the minorities and BIPOCs, black or indigenous people of color. That tells you all you need to know. When somebody comes up with that many letters in an acronym, you know they're full of crap. BIPOC, yes. Well, I guess I'm part indigenous, I'm black, but Isn't it redundant to say you're black and a person of color? Black or indigenous people of color. Isn't that a little redundant? I don't know. And I don't even know what a person of color is. What does that mean? But whatever. Yeah, these people are just so cynical. So my point is that you say, okay, you're doing it for the good of the order. Let's talk about foreign policy. Let's talk critical race theory, right? Critical race theory. Let's do that, because the issue of critical race theory does not only apply to America. We must have a critical race theory agenda, right? A syllabus that deals with Africa, that deals with Haiti, that deals with South America. What about that? What about that? Why do you know why? See, here's the thing. The Democrats could not. They would be exposed if you started pushing, which, by the way, I got plans for something that I'm going to start doing I'm going to do a critical race theory foreign policy on this channel, and I'm going to start bringing some experts on it. We'll do critical race theory foreign policy, and I damn sure bet you this. I bet you Joe Biden and the Democrats won't be jumping up and down to support that critical race theory when I bring on specialists to talk about Haiti. Critical race theory in Haiti. Well, let's talk about it. In 1914, did the United States illegally invade Haiti? Did the United States, I believe it was 1911, they bought Citibank, which whatever it was called then, the Haiti's debt to France, which Haiti was paying off France for getting free from slavery. They were actually paying off the slave owners that they got free from. They were reparations. So the slave owners are not the slaves, but France sold the debt over to Citibank. The United States sent the U.S. Marines to Citibank. They went to Haiti. They invaded the country. They went to their vaults where they had their gold. They stole their gold and they took it back here to guarantee the debts for Citibank. They robbed, the armed robbery of Haiti. How do you have critical race theory and you don't talk about that? But Joe Biden can't talk about that because they're invading Haiti, as I say, talk right now. You talk about what the Clintons did in Haiti? You talk about the Clintons and all of the money they got with the Clinton Foundation. Where the hell did that go? $1 billion raised. Red Cross, $1 billion raised for Haiti. Gone. I think they built 6 houses with $2 billion. Something's kind of crooked there, isn't it? So how can you have critical race theory and not talk about what happened in Haiti? Haiti, look, that critical race theory, Haiti is like the only country in the world, I'm sure, that I know of, certainly in the Western Hemisphere, that was enslaved, and the slaves put together an army and overthrew the country that was enslaving them. Well, that's by any stretch of the imagination in history. If the slaves overthrow the enslavers, that is a positive thing you need to talk about. So you'd have to talk about that. But the United States would not recognize them until after the Civil War, until after the slaves were freed here, because they were afraid their own slaves would be like, hey, that ain't a bad idea. What'd you guys do? Well, we overthrew the French and took over the island of Haiti. Hey, sounds a good idea. Let's go for it. The U.S. was afraid that would happen. So what they did was they wouldn't recognize Haiti. And then they continued to support France and the imperialist colonial powers against Haiti. Now, I can go on. Let's go to the Congo, Thomas Sankara. He was a Congolese leader. The Congolese people, he was young. The Congolese people wanted him. What happened? U.S. kidnapped him. U.S. and U.K. had him kidnapped and murdered, right? Thomas Sankara, Kwame Nkrumah in Ghana, right? The U.S., U.K. had him thrown out of power. I could go name after name after name in Africa. So how do you have a critical race theory discussion without having a discussion about how the United States empire crippled African countries? Where would Congo, where would Ghana, where would these countries be right now? Where would Haiti be? Haiti, the people of Haiti elected a guy named Jean-Paul Aristide. He was a Catholic priest, and the people of Haiti loved him, and they elected him. And the U.S. government kidnapped him and took him to Africa, like the Central African Republic. And the people, Haiti went berserk or whatever. The U.S. brought him back with 9 months left. So he served like a little bit of time in the beginning. He was kidnapped by the U.S. government and taken to another country. They brought him back at the end, and he served 9 more months. He couldn't really do anything. But the U.S. made that decision. The U.S. deposed him, kidnapped him, and brought him back. People think Haiti is a country and Haiti is poor. Haiti is not a country. Haiti is not poor. Haiti's got gas. Haiti's got gold. The United States wouldn't be there if they were poor. They're there because they have riches, and the U.S. wants to steal their riches. The people are poor in the same way that if you walk out of a bank with $100,000 in your pocket, and I stick a house in your hand, and I stick a gun in your head, and I take to your head, and I take your 100,000, you're then poor. You ain't poor because you don't have money. You're poor because you got robbed. That is a valid discussion. If you're going to have a discussion of foreign policy, then Joe Biden ain't going to be looking so good, is he? Don't you have to talk about Muslims? Don't you have to talk about don't you have to talk about this reality? The Republicans got mad at Trump over his Muslim ban, right? You're banning Muslims from the airport. But and Jimmy Dore always talks about this. But wait a minute. Why were Muslims at the airport? Because Obama was bombing the living bloody shit out of all of their countries. They were at the airport because the U.S. was bombing their countries. So Donald Trump's an anti-Muslim racist guy. Which is worse? Which is worse? To bomb and kill Muslims to the point where their countries are destabilized and they're trying to get the hell out, or when they get here, say you can't get off the plane. Right? I mean, maybe it's not good to say you can't get off the plane. We can have that discussion, but how can you have that discussion without having the discussion that Barack Obama was bombing the hell out of their countries in the first place? How can you have one discussion without having the other? So that's why I say there ain't no way in hell the Democrats really believe in critical race theory, because if they did, as soon as Garland Nixon said, let's do critical race theory for foreign policy, and we're going to review what happened with Thomas Sankara. In fact, here's what you probably didn't know. JFK liked him. He thought he was a good guy, and he was. He was young. He was, spirited. The people in the country liked him. It was if you believe in democracy, it was the responsibility and duty of the people in the country to decide their leader and their path forward. JFK was fine with him. Therefore, Eisenhower had him done in before JFK could come in office. It was just before JFK, like a couple months before, or weeks. I think it was 3 weeks before JFK either won or went in office that they killed Thomas Sankara, because JFK liked him. And the empire said, wait a minute, this is a nationalist. He was a nationalist African leader who believes in the independence and sovereignty of his country. The people in the country love him. JFK likes him. We're going to kill JFK eventually anyway. So they're like, we can't have that, because then we can't steal all their stuff. They killed him. Had him killed. Only recently, some part of his body, a tooth or gold tooth or something, was returned, where some ghoul in, I believe it was Belgium or somewhere, had his gold tooth. They just shipped it back. They held it. He was killed, and it was pulled out as a prize to show and sent to some rich people in Europe. That's what kind of animals and ghouls these people are. That's where do you think the Nazis got it from? You see those things full of like all the Jews' gold teeth and stuff? Same thing. It was black person's gold teeth. Yeah, pull it out when you kill him. Bring me his gold tooth. There you go. I know that bastard's dead. Good work. So there's a critical race theory discussion that doesn't seem to be bubbling to the surface. Not only that, and see, here's the thing about it. And here's why. If the U.S. were to have a discussion about critical race theory when it comes to foreign policy, as soon as the discussion happened in Haiti, right? As soon as we started finding out how bad the U.S. had treated Haiti, how the U.S. robbed Haiti, how the U.S. kept saying, oh, look at the Haitians. They don't know what to do with their money. They don't know what to do. They're intellectually inferior. They're screwed up. And as soon as somebody looked at the facts, they'd say, you robbed those people blind for the last couple centuries. No wonder they're poor. And you're still doing it. No wonder they're poor. And you will not allow the Haitian people to have democracy and choose their own leader. No wonder they're poor. As soon as you have an intellectual discussion about U.S. foreign policy in Haiti, it's obvious that the Haitians have been abused. And you can go from country to country. You can go to Libya. You can go to Congo. You can go on and on and on through Africa. And you're going to have a critical race theory. And you're going to find that both Republicans and Democrats abused, slaughtered, genocided, murdered South America, people, South American indigenous people, black, Jew, you name it. You name it. So if you have the critical race theory about those things, what you're going to find is the pattern. Because here's what you'll find. They're doing the same damn thing now. Right now, the U.S. is in the Horn of Africa, doing the same thing, trying to overthrow countries, they overthrew Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso, what happened? How'd that get overthrown? What happened? A guy who was trained by AFRICOM was in a training session. He literally went out of the training session and overthrew the country, being trained by the U.S. AFRICOM. You don't think the U.S. and AFRICOM had anything to do with him overthrowing the country? Oh, country after country overthrown in Africa. So you see, here's the real problem with the Democrats couldn't do it. If there was a discussion about foreign policy critical race theory, it would come down to this. It would come back to the discussion of independence and sovereignty. It would come to the discussion of, do people in Africa and Latin America, in the Middle East, in Asia, where the hell ever, right? Do they have a right to choose their own leaders to be independent and sovereign? Well, if the neocons, if the U.S. empire doesn't believe that the Russians and the Chinese have a right to independence and sovereignty and choosing their own path, they sure as hell don't think the Congolese have a right to do it. They sure as hell don't think the Libyans or the Nicaraguans, 6 million Nicaraguans, pretty much all indigenous people. Trust me, the U.S. empire, they got stuff there that the U.S. wants. They got stuff there. U.S. was like, hey, you got some nice bananas there, bruh. How can we get our hands on them? That's all that's about, economics. So I think that's something I'm going to work on. Believe me, I'm working on it right now, and you're going to see some things here where I just say, okay, Democrat, you want to do critical race theory, do you? You're for critical race theory? Fine. I'm in favor of critical race theory in a comprehensive manner, not a cynical use of it as a tool to smite your enemies. And might I add this, as a tool to hide your dirt. You see, there's something else hidden under the issue of critical race theory, and that is this. If, in fact, Joe Biden and his flock of merry men, right, truly believe in critical race theory, and they're really trying their best to fix things when it comes to race in the United States, then they wouldn't possibly be doing bad things overseas, would they? So when you find out that they're doing bad things overseas, you say, well, we already know that you're trying your best to make things better here when it comes to the issue of race. So overseas, you got to be doing the same thing. And here, and that's all in the past. We're talking about the terrible things that happened in the past. It's like AA, Anonymous, right? One of the things that a person who's an alcoholic has to do is what? Or a narcoholic, what is it? Whatever. Okay. A person who has addiction problems. I don't know much about it, but I do know this. I do know that one of the things that a person with addiction problems has to do is come to grips with the fact that they've hurt people and go back to those people and say, look, I hurt you. And here's how I know this, because I had a person I grew up with, and this person came to me and said, look, I got to talk to you. And I was like, what? Well, I've been had substance abuse problems. And in the past, I did some things wrong. And you were one of the persons that I wronged. And I want to make it clear. I apologize. That wasn't me. That was the alcohol. I'm responsible, blah, 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 blah. And I shook the person's hand and said, thank you very kindly. And I appreciate that. All is forgiven, right? It was great. It was a woman of my young years, right? And I was like, wow, that's awesome. That's really great. I really felt good that this person was getting the help that they needed, right? But think about what she was doing. The term repenting comes to mind, right? She was saying, I recognize that I've done wrong to people, and the only way I can clear my conscience is to go to that person and say, I've been wrong. The only way I can stop doing it, I can say to myself, I ain't going to do it anymore, is if I take ownership and say, I've done wrong, I'm sorry, and go to the person. And if the person doesn't accept your apology, that doesn't matter. And I talked with her about it. And she said, if you'd have said, hey, I don't forgive you. She told me, she says, I would have understood because I did you wrong. And I don't deserve your forgiveness. I appreciate the fact that you would come out and say, you got to respect the person who comes to you and says, I don't deserve your forgiveness. I ask for it, but if you don't give it, I understand. I hurt you and I was wrong. And I'm like, man, that's deep shit right there. Hey, what am I supposed to say? Then if I don't accept their apology, then I'm a jerk. And I try not to be a jerk most of the time. So here's my point. If the Democrats who are pushing critical race theory really believe in it, then what they have to do is say, we're coming to grips with what we've done, both domestically and in foreign policy, because it's all one. And we want to apologize to the Haitians, the Ghanaians, I don't know what the hell, the Congolese, the Libyans. We want to apologize to those, start with the African countries. Libya is an African country. We want to come to grips. We want to go to the African country and say, man, we're sorry we screwed you over. The only problem is those countries are going to say, yeah, well, that cost us about $800 billion. You owe some damn money in reparations, asshole. You overthrew our country. You destroyed our industry. You destroyed everything. And you put some crazy despot in charge who slaughtered people with the secret police for 25 years. So you owe us some money. I mean, if they did that, that would be the truth about it. They would owe these people some money, right? But again, how can you pretend that you're going to fix, that you're going to you're going to deal with your issue of substance abuse, you're going to come to grips with it, you're going to look at what you've done in the past if you haven't stopped drinking? How can the U.S. empire address the issues that they've done to people of color if they're still doing them? Joe Biden right now, see, they want to, this is the game they want to play. The Republicans are racist, but us, Democrats, not only are we not racist, we are, we are upset. We are crushed. We are offended that the Republicans would have the effrontery to exist. My God, these people, they should just disappear into it. They're all a bunch of racists. They should just disappear in an alternative universe, every last one of them. And I would say, perhaps you should look in the mirror, buddy. Democrats, Joe Biden, how clean is your record on race? It ain't real clean. It's horrible. It's as bad as any Republican, Democrat, whatever. And then you go, let me see your foreign policy on race. Your foreign policy history is irrelevant. Look at your present policy. They're invading Haiti right now. Right now, the Haitian people, you probably might not know this. I put up signs. The Haitian people are marching in Haiti with Russian flags. Literally, I got pictures of it on my on my Twitter account. Russian flags. Why? Because they know they've been screwed by the U.S. They're like, hell, Russia, any damn, by China. They're literally saying Russia and China step in, veto anything in the UN Security Council. They're looking and they're saying the U.S. empire's done us dirty, and Russia and China's fighting back against them. Put me in that camp. Put me in that camp. That's one of the things that's going on worldwide. So my point of all of this, it's not even really about critical race theory, is it? It is about the sincerity of the Democratic Party as an entity in arguing that it supports critical race theory so that we can have a better country and a better world, and the human rights violations of the past can be brought to the forefront and dealt with. Well, I'm with you on that one. Except, why is it only domestic policy? Why is it only, and where you can show, I mean, it's valid to say it would be valid. I'm a guy who I'm about intellectual honesty. It would be valid to say that there are areas of the country geographically, historically in the United States that have higher incidences culturally of racism than others. Absolutely, that's a fact. You're a liar if you don't say that some black guy walking in a small town in Mississippi today, right now, some black guy's holding hands with his blue-eyed, blonde-haired white girl, and he's walking down the street in the small town Mississippi, his freaking life would be in danger. We can't. Of course it would. Let's not be stupid here, right? That's true, right? So there are things that are true, that are real, and that are wrong, and that should be addressed, right? Should be discussed, okay? But you're going to discuss that. But when I say, yeah, that's bad, oh, Mississippi or wherever the hell, there's lots of countries places that it happens in the north too, but there are areas culturally that historically are worse than others, blah, blah, blah. All these are a valid discussion, but I don't see how you have that discussion when this bastard Joe Biden is in the process of invading Haiti as I do this video, and claiming that the Haitian people are calling for it. Well, who called for it? The Haitian government. Well, wait a minute. The United States put the Haitian prime minister who's in there in office, Ariel Henry. The last Haitian prime minister was assassinated. He was machine gunned by a bunch of assassins who were trained by the DEA. The plot was hatched in southern Florida. The guy who the United States, Ariel Henry, who is the prime minister right now, who the U.S. government put in office, was on the phone with the assassins on the night that they machine gunned the last president and assassinated him. So the U.S. The plot to kill the prime minister of Haiti was cooked up in the United States. And the United States quickly, as soon as he was dead, shoved the guy in power who was talking with the assassins the night they killed him on a cell phone. Are we stupid here? But the United States wasn't involved, so they can't have a discussion. Might I add, the assassins, the United States immediately said two of the assassins were extraditing back to the United States to process them. Wait a minute. If they killed the Haitian prime minister in Haiti, right? What right does the United States have to bring them here and process them? And where the hell are they now? In fact, some of the assassins that night when they were caught said, we're working for the DEA. They said that. But where are the assassins? Where are the people who were trained by the US DEA, who, when they were grabbed by the police, said, we work for the DEA, who were on the phone with the current prime minister of Haiti that the US put in power? Where are they? They're in prison. Well, let's talk to them. We can't, because they've been, their mouths have been locked shut. The people who are arrested are in prison, and they're not allowed to talk to the press, and nobody's allowed to talk to them. So now you see why Joe Biden can't have an issue, can't have a discussion of critical race theory when it comes to foreign policy, because at the forefront of that discussion has to be Haiti. You have to have a conversation and say, why is Haiti so poor? And it has to be, is it because the Haitians are somehow inferior? Is it because the Haitians, because they don't have resources? Do they have gold mines? Yeah. Do they have gas? Yeah. Do they have all kinds of important things that the world needs? Yes. Well, then why are they poor? Are those things being sold? Yes. Then where's the money going? How are they poor if their resources are being sold and somebody's pocketing the money, but it's a poor country and the people there are getting none of it? How'd that happen? Right? So you can't have a discussion, because once again, the issue of race is inextricably linked to the issue of money. It is highway robbery. Haiti. I saw some people on my Twitter account today when I was talking about, well, the Haitians, if only they didn't screw their money over. Screw their money over. They never see it. The United States installs puppets and dictators, overthrows the country if there's somebody they don't want, assassinates the prime minister, puts in some puppet stooge, and continues to rob the people blind. They have a friggin' unbelievable earthquake, thousands of people dead. The United States then goes in, the Clintons and the NGOs go in, they raise a couple of $1 billion, and they walk away with a couple of $1 billion. The Haitians get nothing. What? A cholera outbreak. That's what they did. They sent a bunch of UN troops in. The UN troops did what? They had a cholera outbreak. They got a whole bunch of Haitian women pregnant and left the babies there and didn't do anything for that for the soldiers. It was just a mess. They got screwed over. So my point is this. Isn't that a valid discussion for critical race theory? But Joe Biden ain't going to have that discussion, is he? The Democratic Party ain't going to have that discussion, is it? So if in fact, and that's why you say that's one of the reasons I'm not in the mainstream media anymore. Although I'll bet this. I was on Fox. I could talk about that. If I was still on Fox, I could have that conversation. Well, no, I couldn't, could I? Come to think of it. Because you know what? Because Fox would reject that too. Because I'd be talking about foreign policy. It would be what would you call that? Anti-imperialist? Anti-empire. Here's what I would say. It would be an intellectual conversation. It would be an intellectual conversation where we took history and data and facts and we laid it on the line and said, let's judge the United States history on race, but not just based by what happened 100 years ago, 200 years ago during slavery. Let's talk about what they've been doing in Africa, in South America. Let's talk about the Vietnam War. Critical race theory. Let's talk about the Vietnam War. Let's talk about the Afghanistan War. Let's talk about right now all the people, the Obama people, the filth that they did through Syria, through Trump, Biden, on and on. Let's talk about the issues that Democrat and Republican have agreed on. For some reason, that's weird. My rock fan just died on me. Oh my God, it just crapped out on me. It just That's weird. I just lost Rockfin. I don't know why. I didn't do anything. Well, it is what it is. We'll continue doing what we're doing and hope for the best. Maybe it's going, maybe it's not. It'll go as long as it goes. Let's try real quick. Rockfin content management. Weird. Hey, I think I'm still going. What the hell? That's weird. And now it's showing 0 watchers. Oh my God. It's gone. Okay. Oh, wait. Okay, let's try to go live again. I don't know what the hell's happening. Anyway, I had problems on Rockfin. For some, I never had any problems before, but this time, and there, all my viewers are back. Okay, I don't know. You're seeing some crazy shit right now. Just enjoy the shit show, as they say all too often. At any rate, it stumbled me a bit. Maybe it was the deep state. Maybe they're like, oh crap. Oh, hey, Joe Biden, we got a madman. He's talking about critical race theory of foreign policy. Quick, what do we do? Oh shit, cut him off Rockfin. Let's see how that works. But at any rate, but they won't stop us, right? They won't stop us. We're going to continue with these important conversations. But I guess that's it. I guess that's the long and short of it. I could go on and on and on and on, right? But it comes down to the same thing. Do you believe the globalists are acting because they want things better for minorities? They want a better society. They want anything. Look at what they're doing right now to further their globalist, evil intentions. They're going to starve Europe. They're going to freeze Europe. They're going to wipe out and deindustrialize Europe. They're trying their best to, right? They're going to the globalists are going to swallow Europe whole and poop it out. That's what they're trying to do. So if that's the case, can anybody believe? Look at the lies about China. They're just making stuff up. And of course, if you're right wing, it's the Communist Party. Whatever they say, you got to believe that. If you're a right winger, if they say China's evil, yeah, the Communist Party. Whatever you say. What about Russia? They're all lying about Russia. They're lying about that? But the globalists are telling the truth about the Communist Party because it's convenient. Because that's what I want to believe. And meanwhile, you got a bunch of Democrats. They're lying about this and that. But when it comes to Russia, they're telling the truth about that. Everybody seems to find a way to believe what the hell they want to believe, no matter the fact that it's coming from the same lying bastards. Let me put it to you like this. I don't believe them about Russia. I don't believe them about China. Didn't believe them about Syria, weapons of mass destruction. You know, go on. Xinjiang, Smin Spang. I don't care what it is. These people are liars. That's who they are. It's what they do. It's all they do. And they're not trying to address the issue of critical race theory for the betterment of Black people in America. Because if that was so, they would have to take it foreign policy. So what I'm going to do is I've got friends. I got friends that happen to be specialists in Haiti, in the history of Haiti, specialists in Africa, and the subjects I talked to you about before, Sankara and Nkrumah, on and on and on, right? Patrice Lumumba, right? People who decided the people of the country said, we want them to be in charge. And the U.S. said, that ain't going to happen. We'll kill them. We'll overthrow the country. That's the critical race theory conversation that I want to have, because it was both Republicans and Democrats that have been involved in this. To this day, they won't even admit it, much less say we're sorry and we shouldn't have done it. And they can't say they're sorry and we shouldn't have done it because they're still doing it. And they can't have the conversation because they're still doing it. All right. Thanks a lot, everybody. Let me look. Weird stuff going on. All right. You hit the nail on the head. Why, thank you. I hear that a lot from people, and I really appreciate it. I stand with the Haitians, free the people. Exactly. I think, can I say this? Black of the Empire says, facts being spoken. I think that there are a lot of people who, on right and left, right, who get bamboozled, right, left, nationalist, you name it, who get bamboozled, but that's why we're starting to see people like me who are hardcore lefties start to get friends with libertarians and MAGA people and all kinds of people coming together, and people who have ideological differences, right? Socialists and hardcore capitalists and libertarians and you name it, right? Who are starting to come together because there is one common belief, and that is, look, we got problems of our own. In the words of that great American philosopher, Flavor Flav. Flavor Flav said, I can't do nothing for you, man. I'm too busy trying to do for me. I can't do nothing for you, man. That's just the way the ball bounces, G. And I think that there are a lot of left, right, everywhere else people who feel like Flavor Flav. Hey, man, look, you got a great country and all that stuff. But look, we got problems of our own, bro. We got to eat. We got to survive. We got to do what we got to do. The problem is, let me add this with the globalists, the problem is the globalists don't believe in a country, right? So when I go to South America and you see in Venezuela and you see all of these beautiful, and there's a lot of art on the street. There's a lot of murals and things in South America when you go around, beautiful, brightly colored. And oftentimes the country that you go into, their flag, there'll be murals in the colors of their flag, beautiful murals all over Venezuela, Caracas, on and on. Go to small towns, beautiful murals, right? And so you go there, and oh crap, I got a little sidetracked and I forgot. But my point being, I got a little sidetracked. As you know, I got ADD, and it's easy for me to get sidetracked and I forget where I am. But my point being, anyway, that ultimately, I think that the issue is the people in. Oh, I know where it's going. In a lot of these countries, Venezuela, whatever poor countries they're nationalists. They are nationalists. I love my country, but not an evil nationalist. Not I love my country. Not like the Proud Boys, right? The West is the best. That is so infantile. That is such an immature way of thinking. It's a competitive way of thinking. I have to be better than you. Someone has to be above the other. We got to have a totem pole. Somebody's at the bottom, somebody's at the top. Rather than saying, I love my country. Like I said, you go to South America, Venezuela, they'll say, oh, Venezuela, we love Venezuela. It's wonderful. What about Nicaragua? That's wonderful too. And the people there should really enjoy and stand up for their country. So it's, I love my country. You should love yours. I love my traditions. I love my religious traditions. I love my cultural traditions. Oh, they're the best. I love them. They're wonderful. And you should love yours, and yours are the best for you, right? That's reasonable. Not, hey, I like mine, and this is the U.S. empire. We like ours, and therefore we got to export it to everybody, whether they want it or not. That's problematic. That's at the root of this thing. We're an exceptionalist country. We're better than everyone else, and therefore everybody has to do what we tell them to do, and what we tell them to do is what we do. But we don't really tell them to do what we do. That's a lie. What we really tell them to do is what we want, so we can steal their shit. It comes down to lies, so you can steal their resources. And now, guess whose turn it is, Europe? It ain't Ghana no more. It ain't Venezuela or Cuba. It's France and Spain. And you poor bastards have leaders who are so inept and who are so corrupt that they're willing to do it to their own people, because you ain't their people, because they are globalists, because they don't believe in individual countries. They don't have a country. They're Atlanticists or whatever you want to call them. The bottom line is they don't have a country. Macron, he gives a fuck about France. Hey, Macron, what about France? Yeah, screw these ignorant bastards. I hate their guts. I'm the leader of all of you. Macron, look at Macron. Listen to him talk. He wants to be the leader of all of Europe. He doesn't give a shit about France. France means nothing to him. Liz Truss, yeah, she's got the IQ of a head of lettuce. Come on. What did she do? She gets in power, and let's face it, CTD, circling the drain. That's what's going on with the economy of the UK. And they look at her and like, hey, your economy's screwed. What do you want to do? I'm a big supporter of Zionist, Israel, Zionist. I'm a Zionist and Israel's great. What about the people starving? I'd be happy to push the nuclear button and kill every one of those ignorant bastards. Okay, what about the economy? Giant tax cuts for the rich. That's what we're going to do. That'll fix the problem. Oh, she didn't give a shit about the people of Europe. That ain't what she's there to address. She's there. She wasn't even talking to the people of the UK. She was talking to the neocons in Foggy Bottom in DC. She was talking to the US State Department saying, you guys chose me. You guys put me in power. I just want to remind you, I work for you, not these snaggly toothed bastards. I hate every damn one of them. Fuck them. I hate them. Let them die. I work for you. Look out for me, dear globalists in DC. That's what she was really saying. And it's time for people to wake up. And I guess this conversation that I'm having is just another elbow that I'm hitting you in the ribs with. That's all it is. I'm hitting you in the ribs with another elbow saying, wait up, wake up. Don't be arguing about critical race theory. They're not doing it because they want to fix the damn thing. It's another cynical tool. And if you want to find out, I'm going to do so. I'm going to talk to some experts and say, hey, critical race theory, foreign policy, and I'm going to label them. I'm going to say, let's talk about Haiti. Let's talk about Kwame Nkrumah. Who was he? What happened to him? And who did it? Let's talk about, there was a book written about that. Let's talk about Thomas Sankara and the books that were written by people who are involved in the thing. Let's talk about Dan Kovalik. Let's bring him on and talk about the U.S. overthrowing Iran. Oh, Iran's terrible. Why? They overthrew the U.S. embassy in 1979. Well, they damn sure should have. We overthrew their country and put a vicious, brutal dictator in. And what do you know? They took their country back. They got a right to. Whether you like it or not, whether you're in favor of the government or not, if you didn't like that government, you shouldn't have overthrown the duly elected government of Mohammad Mossadegh. They had a right to throw your asses out. And that's what they did. All right, let's keep going. So let's have that conversation. That is a conversation for critical race theory. Let's have that conversation, Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi. The U.S. is about to invade Haiti again. Their leader requested foreign military assistance. They don't have let me say this, my dear friend. They don't have a leader. They have a puppet. Let me show you this. Watch this. Watch this. Let me make sure I'm still on Rockfin. God only knows what the hell's been happening on Rockfin. Let me do this. Haiti Liberté. See if this is in. This is crap. I hate that. I cannot. Well, I'm not going to go through all of that. But there's a great website called Haiti Liberté, and I would have to translate it using Google Translation. It's not hard, but I don't want to take out the time doing that right now while I'm talking to you. Here's the bottom line. So, Josh, so you'll know, the U.S. put in a puppet leader who was involved in the assassination of the former prime minister. They put in a puppet. And now that prime minister said, hey, U.S., yeah, we need you to come in here. Now, meanwhile, tens, if not hundreds of thousands of Haitians are on the street with Russian flags. They got Russian flags. They got signs saying no intervention. The actual people of Haiti are saying, we don't want intervention. You bastards caused the problems. You ain't the cure. And they're like, oh, well, you know those puppets that we stuck in office after we killed the last guy? Yeah. Shockingly, he wants us to come in. I wonder where he'd ever got that idea from. It's not like we talked to him about it. Oh, let's see. Do we have it more? All right, so I'm going to the bottom. And I'm going to see. Oh, let's see what do we have here. Hey, Garland, my parents are well-off libs that just watch Stephen Colbert all day. Thanks for keeping me sane. You feel crazy when you think you're alone. Yeah, I know what you mean there, Peter. And I got family members the same way. I got family members that hey, what's happening? And they're like, yeah, I was watching MSNBC last night. I'm like, oh, you don't know where this is going. And did you guess what they're going to do with Trump? And did you hear the latest about January 6th? January 6th, Trump. Have a nice day. I'll be over here cutting the grass and trying to cut my own throat and kill myself. For God's sake. Sparky, globalists want all countries to be the same, but I say, viva la différence. Hey, you are right. I'm down with Sparky. Sparky's always got something brilliant to say. Nerdtopia is dystopia. Way to go there, Spark. Let's see what we got here. Sparky's hitting it tonight. Globalists want a borderless world run by a central authority. Exactly. And they're the central authority. Great work, Garland. Thank you, Sparky. Anything else? You hit the nail on the head. Okay, we got that far. So we are now going to make our move over to Rockfin because what the hell? Oh, there we go. Things are looking good in Rockfin, and let's find out where folks got to say. And hey, big guy, as a cosmopolitan kind of guy, this is from Nighthawk Insomniac. And as an ex-military pilot, ex-correctional officer, environmentalist, engineer, computer tech with no animosity, prejudice, discrimination towards anyone on this planet, I'll send you a tip. You rock. Thank you very much. I certainly appreciate that, Nighthawk Insomniac. Grandma Rat. Thanks a lot, Grandma Rat. JVB, brilliant as always. Thank you, JVB. Pete Freeman says, Chomsky, Ellsberg, and Cornel West are still asking people to vote Dem to keep Republicans out. The living icons of progressive politics are speaking from a place of fear. It's difficult to be proactive when reactive politics are still so strong. Yeah, they're not going the lesser of two evils. They've got to the point where now they're asking for the evil of two lessers. Hey, don't forget, we got to go with the people that are going to nuke us. Yeah, but those guys will nuke us for China. Yeah, but they'll nuke us for Russia. So we're going to go with the ones that'll nuke us for Russia. Yeah, yeah, what? And as we watch our government guide us in a very dangerous place, I cannot see an argument for voting for either of these parties. Here's my point here I'm making. That's just the point I'm trying to make. I'm just trying to say that. How about Bill Wilson? Thanks a lot, Bill Wilson. And anybody else? Keep going, Garland. You're on a roll, says Nighthawk Insomniac. Thanks a lot, Nighthawk Insomniac. See, it is part of this is let's make us hate our brothers and sisters. Let's make us hate the people that we need to come together with to to overthrow these bastards. And I don't mean take a gun and run into the Capitol and shoot somebody. I mean to utilize our power, to utilize our ability to say we're not voting for the Republicans and Democrats anymore. We've had it up to here with you warmongering pieces of crap. We've had with your lie. We had it with your lies. We've had it with the woke agenda, all lies. We've had it with your foreign policy. We've had it with all of that stuff. We're not supporting you anymore. I would vote. I'm sorry. I'm not voting Republican or Democrat ever. You vote for whoever you want to. There's no way in the world I would do that. People are like, what about DeSantis? He's just another Zionist. Listen to the guy. Here's a guy who wanted to punish people who wouldn't swear fealty to Israel. Oh, you can't get a contract with Florida unless you say that you're not going to unless you support Israel. You're not going to support anything that opposes Israel. That's a bunch of crap. You're supposed to be looking out for the United States. That guy, you think that guy's looking out for you? When he gets in, your money's going to Israel. If Israel tells him to take his head and smack it into a tree, he'll do it. No, if they tell him to take your head and smack it into a tree, they're doing it. He ain't getting hurt. You are. Your money's going there. You're nothing. You're done. There's going to be a foreign policy in the Middle East that does not benefit us. No thanks. No thanks. He's not the answer. You think what you want. That guy ain't the answer. Just another people think because he didn't go along with a lot of the COVID measures that makes him some kind of rebel. No, my friends, no. He is what his record said he is. As far as I'm concerned, he's just another Zionist who does not have the best interest of the United States at hand. That's it. I'm sorry. If you like it or not, screw that. That's where I'm coming from. Charles K says, DeSantis is the biggest Zionist in America. Facts, scholar. People don't realize that DeSantis is a massive neocon. And those two things go together. Find me a Zionist that ain't a neocon, and find me a neocon that ain't a Zionist. Best of work, best of luck there. Those things are, again, in American foreign policy, they're inextricably linked. So, yeah, he's one of those. And he ain't going to fix things. He's going to drag us in deeper and continue what the hell they're doing. And when somebody says China, okay, well, yeah, first of all, I have yet to have him. I've heard Elon Musk. I've heard Trump. I've heard Admiral Mullen say we need to do something about this war. We need to tell what was DeSantis. People look at him to run. What has he said about it? Have you heard him say anything about it? Not a thing. No, thank you, buddy. No, thank you. All right. Okay, thanks a lot, you all. Certainly appreciate it. I appreciate everybody who supports this channel. Last but not least, I will end up by saying this. If you can, everybody, please, I see 66 people. So there must be 466 likes. Smash that like button here on YouTube. If you're not a member of my Rockfin channel, please, you can become a member for free. It costs nothing. Go to rockfin.com/Garland Nixon and become a member. It would be wonderful if you could become a subscriber. That costs $9.99 a month. That would be a great benefit to help keep this channel going if you can be a subscriber on Rockfin. But you don't have to. Just so you'll know, subscribers get to see my premium content and all premium content on Rockfin. I do one premium show per week. It's 9 o'clock on Wednesday morning. It is a update, a 1 hour with Scott Ritter, and it's a great show. It's well worth it, but also you're helping the channel. So anybody that can do that, $9.99 a month to become a subscriber, it's highly appreciated. If you can't afford it, don't even worry about it. Enjoy the show, and chat or whatever you can do to contribute is highly appreciated. If you can't contribute anything, I understand that, and enjoy everything, and don't even worry about it. Take care of yourself and your family. That's what's most important for those who can't. For those who can, hey, if you can contribute a few extra bucks for the ones that can, I certainly appreciate that too. We got, of course, buymeacoffee.com. We got patreon.com. You can see everything scrolling across the bottom. Patreon.com. If you can do $5 a month, $10, $100, whatever you can do, buy me a coffee. You go there, and it's fairly obvious. You can do a one-time thing there. I certainly appreciate that. We got Cash App, # DC Radio Man. So anyone who can help the channel, I appreciate it. If you can't afford it, don't even worry about it. Enjoy the channel with all of us together, contribute on chat, and that is a great contribution for all of us, and we all appreciate it. Thanks a lot, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the show, and I will see you all tomorrow. Geez, tomorrow I got a busy day. I got to do my show in DC, and I got to do my show in Los Angeles on KPFK, so I'm a busy man. Peace. I'm out.